What's up? It's Jobringus, your favorite inefficient reg. It's been a while since I've made an update video. It's currently the night of October 2nd, and the last video was posted in early June. Most of that time I was not playing. Someone did ask in the comments, where have update videos been? And the answer is I just wasn't playing, so there were no updates. And I've been playing a little bit over the past month, so I thought I would get back in the cadence of making update videos, and who knows, maybe I'll make them on something different than a monthly cadence, maybe when there are updates worth making. Nothing too different from my recent goals or recent progress. A lot of the levels that I've gained, which has been about 15 total levels, has been exactly what I said I would do. Maybe over the course of this video I'll hit 82 hit points. But basically I said that I wanted to finish up 80 range, which I find quite tedious. But in the midst, I also got a handful of fire making and prayer levels. I got one magic level from high alching, as I usually do. I got two cooking levels. I started chipping away at the stack of grapes and jugs of water that I have. And I actually also got one smithing level, which I think, yeah, I'm pretty early on into the next level. Maybe about halfway to the next cooking level. And then prayer and fire making, I still would like to get 88 fire making and, sorry, 80 fire making and 70 prayer. But I'm not sure exactly how I'll tackle the prayer. This range training has been giving me a bit of experience, and whatever I do for 80 magic, if I were to melee any type of giants, then that should probably get me to 70 prayer by the time I hit 80 fire making. I've been doing lighting fires while scattering ashes, which I do in a very lazy way that I'm sure I'll show off in a video sometime. But it's, not particularly click intensive, very, um, very easy to pull off, not much to do with managing run energy. So I kind of like it for that reason. And I do it in various banks for a change of pace from just the Grand Exchange. It's taking me forever to get 80 ranged. I think there were like 3 separate update videos where I said I want to get 80, and the honest fact is I just don't enjoy range that much. I think I might actually start you training some range at flesh crawlers. Mithril arrows are so dirt cheap, and the DPS difference is pretty negligible on something with such low HP. So I think it would make a lot of sense for me to do that if I just hate range, so I can just passively train it and then not even worry about picking up the arrows. Such a small amount of cash to lose, and it would still probably come close to paying for itself just off of the occasional drops, some uncut gems here, but especially the stackable bone fragments, of which, I'll need plenty. I haven't been actively accumulating them via the Grand Exchange. I accumulated some stack of them at some point, and the rest that I've gotten have been from AFK melee training. So I was arranging ogresses, or not ogresses, but moss giants in the wilderness for a while, and I managed to stack up a couple mossy keys. I still think it would be fun someday to go for a Bryophytus Essence kind of collection log on the account, but the fact is that I'm not really sure if it's worth it for me to range moss giants in the wilderness. The problem is that I do actually need food if I do that. So I have to occasionally make a trip back to the Ferox Enclave, which is not that close by, and it's a bit of a tedious bank trip as a result. And the thing is that it's also, the rate for mossy keys is doubled in the wilderness, which is pretty good. It's like the alternative could be fighting moss giants somewhere like Varrock Sewers or Crandor Island. Both of them are pretty far away from anything, but like they're safe spots, so I could kind of stay there indefinitely. or at least close to indefinitely. I mean, there's a small amount of stuff worth banking, but it is pretty small. Um, it's hardly even worth banking like steel bars or anything. You might as well just alk, bring some fire runes to alk. Um, the the fine drops, the black square shields, the mithril swords for a little bit of GP. They're worth more than a nature rune, but it's not particularly lucrative GP wise whatsoever. The XP is fine. The XP is probably about as good as Ogress is. But unless I'm serious about the Bryophyte's essence, then that's not a particularly fun approach to take. I think it would probably be better off if I just trained melees on giants, because then at least the kills would come a little faster. I still wouldn't need that much food because my defense would be so much higher. So I probably would like do that instead. Hill giants is, they're very weak, so I could also always do that. I have done some hill giants, but because they're so low HP, being a fairly low level mob, I actually have to do a lot of clicking, even if I'm just meleeing, because I'm constantly switching between targets. Yeah, and that's one of the nice things about Ogress is I just don't have to switch targets that often, and the loot is quite good. So I'm not, I keep changing up my looting strategy slightly. At some point in time, I used to bank basically everything, and then I switched to banking only things worth at least as much as an uncut sapphire. And now uncut sapphires have also been dropping in value. Plus, I just don't like having to bank as often as that makes me bank. So I've brought a chisel with me so I can cut sapphires, and I might even cut emeralds as well and just drop them. I don't think their alch price is high enough to justify high alching them. Maybe emeralds are, but I doubt it. It's probably worth like the price of one nature, and so maybe it just barely gets there. And that would at least make it easier to have longer trips. The less you care about GP, the more you can not worry about anything that's not basically like an uncut diamond. Those are, I would say, worth banking at the very least. They're worth like 2.7k, I think. Let me see. 2.8k, yeah, pretty expensive. So, Ogresses, it kind of depends how easy I want to make it on myself, how much I care about generating GP. And the more I think about how tedious I find range training, the less I care about, the kind of marginal drops from Ogresses. I'm perfectly okay staying here and, just accumulating stackables in my inventory and passing on lower tier drops or kind of mid-tier drops. So, we'll see. I'm going to finish up 80 ranged almost certainly here, but going forward, I think it's more and more likely that I do it with flesh crawlers. I just don't enjoy it that much. And after that, I do still want to finish up 80 attack so I can get almost base 80s. And that, who knows? I might do that with giants for keys. If I'm paying attention, I'll do it on giants. If I'm not, I'll do it on flesh crawlers. Flesh crawlers are just so easy to do when I'm, not really paying attention to the game, that it's a really nice method for just passively gaining lots of XP, over the course of a day or a week. Like I said, I would like to finish up 80 fire making and prayer. And adamant bars finally have been in and out of a zone where they're reasonably affordable. So I've been buying some smithing XP here and there and working on cooking when I kind of just want to do some bank standing. So a lot of the recent goals have been the same. After base, we'll call it almost base 80s, 70 prayer is definitely like a priority because the lowest stat. I would like to get that true base 70s and then start pushing for 80s, which really is just going to be prayer and rune crafting after I finish fire making attack in this last range level. And I've talked before about how I actually enjoy rune crafting, so that probably won't be too tough to motivate myself for. And prayer, we'll just see how it goes. Um, it's always nice to eke out passive prayer experience from training combat, from training fire making by scattering ashes. The fastest prayer experience, it's a skill I really want to leave kind of for last because it is just quite expensive. It's, probably big bones have become a little more affordable than they were before. If you scatter and bury, it's probably somewhere still close to 20 GP per XP. I think it's less than that. I think it's maybe like 18. That's quite expensive. My bank value right now is hovering somewhere around 50 mil, I think. I mean, I have spent a little bit on some prayer experience while I burn logs, but I definitely, I still need a lot more bank value. Just need that to keep climbing up. Even something like training smithing, a stack of 10,000 adamant bars being the limit I can buy for 4 hours and giving me about 2 hours worth of smithing XP. That takes up somewhere around 19 mil of my cash stack. So that's a lot of, it's a lot of money I need to be able to skill reasonably, and it doesn't make sense for me to train smithing 20 minutes at a time. So I need a big cash stack. I've talked about that before too. And then it's always a possibility once I finally get that 99 to just simply be using, rune items to generate more GP. For the time being, I haven't always been doing this because I've been using my G slots for some skilling supplies, but I guess that Ogres ran away. But it's nice to, when I can buy some alkables kind of just over time. A lot of the alkables that are lucrative are so because they're low limit. And so sometimes I stack those up passively. If I'm training a skill like this, I don't need any, supplies actively, or if I know I'm not going to be playing much over the course of a few days. And that really makes a big difference. Even though I do a lot of my alking while bank standing, it's such a profitable hour to do so that it's been helping my cash stack grow a lot. One thing that I have been trying to passively buy is I've been working on banking enough silver bars for 99 crafting. I've definitely talked at some point in the past for how much, basically how I'm going to approach 99. Diamonds are, and probably always will be, simply unaffordable for me. But there were points in time where cutting gems could have been feasible. Although recently a lot of gem prices, especially cut gem prices, really tanked. And I think that's probably because of Tombs of Amascut. It seems like that's had a pretty big impact on a handful of items, like gold ore at some point took a big hit. And it looks like the cut gems all have. And the uncuts, to some degree, have followed suit, maybe with the exception of diamonds. I don't think uncut diamonds got any less expensive. I just think the cut ones got cheaper. It's actually pretty profitable to train crafting by making jewelry, but making jewelry requires a lot of trips to the bank, or you obviously can only make half as much per inventory, and so you're clicking a lot more often. You need to actually deal with like run energy, whereas if you're just turning silver bars into unstrung symbols, the XP per hour is not terrible. Obviously, it's not that great. Definitely not as good as cutting gems, but it's not awful, and it's very AFK, which is the real reason I like it. It's just something I can do with very little clicking. So I like it for that reason, and that's probably how I'm going to train crafting in the future unless I really get to a point where I'm focusing a lot on this account, or again I get something happens that makes cutting gems a lot cheaper. There have been points in time where I think even now cutting sapphires isn't horribly expensive. I think it's maybe somewhere around 1 GP per XP. And it takes about as much attention as making wines. So it's definitely not that bad. But making unstrung symbols takes like no attention. And it's probably somewhere about even with how much GP it generates. I think it really depends on the price of the bars. So it's not a great method, but that's fine. That's something that I've maybe been working on. That I've been working on, like slowly banking, just like how I bank 99 cooking and 99 fire making. It just doesn't take that much bank value to do that. So I figured I would go for it. Crafting, 200 silver bar, 200,000 silver bars. That actually has a decent bit of money tied up, but it's not an egregious amount. So, and the thing is that if they become profitable, I can always sell them. If they don't, the fact is they're just not likely to fall that much. After 70 prayer anyway, though, I might also work on returning to some skills like woodcutting, nice and relaxing skill. I don't know when I'll pursue mining again. Mining, I really have to get into the rhythm of it. It's not as easy for me as rune crafting. There's something about it that maybe it's because I'm clicking with a more frequent cadence. Rune crafting, there are at least kind of moments of downtime, and everything sort of follows a larger path. Like doing things in a 30-second loop is maybe a little more fun than performing the same item, the same action in like a 5-second loop. But I'll eventually, find my chance to do that as well. That was one thing I had considered if I ever do range moss giants again, and maybe some consideration to doing them on Crandor and keeping a pickaxe in my inventory, so that if I just want to AFK something else, I can hop around until I find a star. There are 2 star spots on Crandor, so relatively often that shooting stars end up there. And they also often end up unscouted, so you can have a whole star to yourself for a long time. That's something I could consider, and maybe I will do at some point in the future. The mining XP is obviously pretty poor, but it's better than nothing. If I don't want to leave, but I don't have the capacity to be ranging moss giants at a given time, then that's an option for me. Anyways, all in all, I think everything I said during this video I've said at some other previous point in time, but I thought it would still be nice to post a update video for the month. I hope you guys enjoyed. I noticed there's 11 of you subscribed right now, which is kind of more than I expected. I appreciate when people watch these videos that I didn't fully expect anyone to. And with that, hope you have a nice month. Happy grinding.